Welcome to another episode of the Vise Squad, brought to you by Goes to 11 Media and the Anadromous Fly Company. I'm Ricky Evans, and I'm going to be your host for this episode. Y'all be sure to check out our stores at fishingandoutdoors.ca for Canadian shoppers and fishingandoutdoors.net for U.S. and international shoppers. Today we're going to be tying a deer hair diver. So let's go ahead and get started. I have some 210 Danvilles. We're going to attach the thread right above right at the start of the bend and above the hook, barb, and point. Put a little base there. Get it good and attached. I've got some hackles, and I've trimmed the ends and left some of the barbels on there. And we're going to oppose these feathers. And we're going to tie these two right on top. Then I have another set. I'm going to put one on each side. One on my side of the shank, one on the opposite side of the shank. Tailing materials on these divers can be almost anything. Bucktail, marabou. I'm going to put some marabou in this too. Foxtail works great. It's really up to you. I'm going to take a piece of white marabou. I'm going to put it on the bottom. I put that piece of marabou on there because that's going to be the belly color of the deer hair head of my fly. And I've got some olive put on top. Even that up with the white. Tie that in. And you can go all marabou tail if you want. You can pretty much do whatever you want with it. That's the beauty of fly tying. I'm gonna take some flash. I'm going to trim that off, and I don't want to trim all this even like a paintbrush. I'm just going to kind of stagger the trim until I get them all cut. Okay. Here's your tail. We're going to finish that off. Cut our thread. This is a number 1 Kona extra sharp stinger. I'm going to add a little super glue here over the thread there, thread wraps, and this will allow me to attach my GSP. I have 200 denier GSP. If you don't glue it down, it's going to want to slip. It's slick, so super glue will help you get that attached. All right. I'm going to take some deer hair. This is going to be the belly of the fly, which is going to be white. And colors are totally up to you. You can do what you want with color combinations. I'm basically going to be trying to make a little frog diver. cut a patch, deer hair, white, and I've brushed out the under fur, short hairs. And you want to do this to all your deer hair. Every clump you cut, you want to brush it out. I'm gonna stick that in my hair stacker. Stack it, because we're gonna leave the tips on this first set of stacks. I'm gonna make a skirt off the back of the fly. I'm gonna trim the butts, just kind of even them up. It's not necessary, but I like to do it. It kind of helps me see what's going on and keeps it from looking so crazy. Got my ends stacked. I like the tips of my skirt to be just out even or a little past the back of the bend of the hook. That looks pretty good right there. I'm going to hold this stack on my side of the hook down at an angle. And I'm going to go 1, 2 wraps. And I'm going to barely flare that. And on my third wrap, I'm going to roll the entire stack to the bottom of the hook. I'm going to take my thumb and press right on those thread wraps and support the eye of the hook with my finger and pull straight down. I'm going to go 1 more wrap in the same place. Same thing. Press on the wraps, support the hook, pull straight down. Now I'm going to take some more deer hair. This is going to be olive. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go olive, chartreuse, and black. And a lot of people say, you know, you need the same amount of deer hair on the bottom as you do on top with each stack. That's not necessarily true. I almost always have more hair on top than I do on the belly. Just because you're putting more stacks, that's the reason that works out that way. Got my tips stacked. Excuse me. Have my tips stacked. I'm going to line them up with the tips of the white. You always want to keep your thread wraps for each stack in the same place. I'll go 2 wraps. Then I'm going to pinch this, the shank, and the clump of hair and everything, my thread wraps, and I'm just going to pinch it and pull straight down. And what that'll do is that'll help you keep everything on top of the hook. 1 more time, straight down. And a lot of people worry about dragging hair into the belly of the fly. You know, I do this, and I do it all the time. It's not that big a deal, and the fish don't care. Now, if you're a perfectionist and you're concerned about it, you can actually put a small clump of white on top of the hook and then start the rest of your stacks, and that'll help keep you from doing that. Or you can be real meticulous and use your bodkin and separate all those fibers and get them back on top. I don't see the purpose of it, and I know the fish don't care, so I don't do it. I'm going to take a little smaller clump of chartreuse, and the same thing. I'm going to brush it out, get all the under fur, short hairs out. Stack it. We're going to line the tips up. And same thing, we're going to go 2 wraps. So put your wraps in the same place each time. And we're going to come in and pinch everything and the shank and pull straight down. 1 more wrap, straight down. And each time I do this on top, I'm basically just taking my finger and opening up a little bowl in the hair there to place your next stack. I'm going to take some black. Brush it out. Stack it. Come up here and lay right on top. Even up your tips. Same thing again. 1, 2. Pinch everything. Go straight down. A lot of people ask you, well, how much hair do you use on each clump? And it just varies. It's really just a trial and error. So, you know, whatever you're comfortable with, what you can hold on to, you know, and you can use too much too. So keep that in mind as well. There's a happy medium. You just have to find what you're good with. So, all right. Now that's all the stacks we're going to put on that section. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to work it all back. You can do this however's comfortable for you. And I'm going to work my thread in front of all of that to the shank. I'm going to run my bobbin up to the shank, holding that hair back, and I'm going to go 3 or 4 wraps at the base of that hair. And I'm going to half hitch that off. I'm going to take my hair packer, or you can use your fingers. You can use your fingers as well. It'll work. I'm going to support the rear of the hook at the bend, and I'm going to pack it back. A lot of people ask how much pressure I use, and it's quite a bit. Way more than you would think. Even thread tension, I use a lot of thread tension. I'm going to put 3 or 4 more wraps right there at the base again, and then advance my thread forward. I'm going to put a drop of super glue on the base of that hair and those thread wraps. I use super glue a lot. I recommend you use liquid fusion because it's a little more forgiving if you get something out of line. Or the Fly Right makes something called Fly Tight that works well. Now we're back to the belly color and a new set of stacks. So I'm going to take some white, decent clump of white. On these next sets of stacks, we're not going to be stacking it in the stacker or leaving the tips. So we're going to brush it out. And I'm just going to come up and trim off the tips. We're going to do the same thing as we did on the first set. We're going to hold it on our side of the hook, down at an angle, go 2 wraps. Flare it just a little bit, and on the 3rd time, you're going to roll the entire stack to the bottom. Press on your wraps and support the eye of your hook and pull straight down. 1 more wrap in the same place, pull straight down. Now we're just going to repeat the stacks. If you wanted to, you could go your belly stack and just a clump of olive here, and that will put a space, a fairly large space between your spots. But I do that every now and then, not often. I usually just go spot after spot. And lay that right on top of the hook. 2 wraps. Reach down and pinch the hook and the hair and everything. Pull straight down. 1 more wrap. Pinch, pull straight down. And take some chartreuse. Same thing. You can use your hands to clean this stuff out. It takes a little longer, but it will get the job done. Trim the tips. Lay that right on top. 1, 2, pinch, pull straight down. One more time. A lot of people think that this is, you know, let me say, it's very forgiving. Deer hair is forgiving. If you're tying it in correctly and you're packing it well, it's not as hard to do this as it is to trim it. The trimming's really where it's going to take practice. Stacking and packing is the easy part. Last color right on top. 1, 2, pinch, pull straight down. One more time, straight down. All right. Try to work that back. Get your thread worked to the front of that. Put 3 or 4 wraps in front of that. Half hitch it off. Pack that back. Two or 3 wraps in front of that, and then advance your thread forward. Put a little drop of glue. Now on this last set of stacks, I'm going to make them smaller on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and get my belly color in. And the reason I'm going to do this is so that it doesn't bring my thread wraps real high up off the shank. And that'll help prevent me from cutting them with the razor during trimming. Cutting my thread during, you know, with the razor. So. My side of the hook at an angle. 1, 2, roll it to the bottom. Pinch, pull straight down. Now these next 3 stacks are going to be a lot smaller than what I normally use. And again, I can't tell you exactly how much hair I'm using, but you'll just have to trial and error. Or if you wanted to, you could just use 2 big clumps of olive and white and be finished with it. But I'm going to go ahead and put another little spot on there. All right. Work that back. You have to press it back with your hands. Three or 4 wraps. Half hitch that off. Looks like I'm getting a little out of whack here. Pack it back. Right, so I still have a little bit of room behind the eye, so I'm going to put a little more hair there. Put a drop of glue. Just going to take a little pinch of white. The closer you get to the eye, the little more difficult it's going to be to get this hair in there because you got all the other hair in the way. So you might want to try running your bobbin up real close and keeping your tights, your wraps real tight up against the fly itself to kind of keep the thread from going crazy on you. On these two little stacks, I'm just going to put a base color, the belly color, and a base color, which is olive. Olive is the base color because that's the first color I put on the top. And these are not very big clumps, just enough to fill up that extra space I have at the front, right behind the eye. The idea is to put as much hair on here as you can and pack it on as tight as you can. That way you have a good solid body. And that's really preference as well. So if you don't want your fly to be real dense, then you don't have to pack it as tight and it won't be as dense. Work your thread in front. You want to try, if you can, get a few wraps right behind the eye. You see how I'm breaking those hairs off? Don't worry about that. That's okay. You got plenty of hair on there. Then I'm going to half hitch, and I'm going to do about 6 or 7 of these. That's how I tie it off. I don't whip finish. I just use a bunch of half hitches. It's like a good whip finish. So. Alright, let me cut my GSP off. Take a double-edged razor. And on hair bugs, I typically start with the belly almost always on every fly. So take and try to trim that flat. A little bit rounded is okay. For the most part, I like to do them flat as I can get them. And take your time in trimming. You can't go back, so make sure you be real careful. If you get too close and you cut your thread, you've rent the fly. So you don't want to do that. And trimming this belly flat gives you something to go by. So I've got my belly pretty flat, looking good. If you take your time with the razor and you accidentally get too deep and you hang that GSP, as long as you're not just forcing it through, it'll actually grab, that GSP will grab your razor and you can feel it before you cut through it. So keep that in mind too. That could save you. All right. Got my belly good and flat. And I'm going to take and just put a small angle, almost like a 45 degree, off each side, just to give it a good start. I'm going to roll the fly over and I'm going to take it, I'm going to curve my razor. A lot of people take these out of the vise and trim them. I don't. I trim them in the vise. So just do what's comfortable for you. And then I'm going to curve my razor, turn the fly over and curve my razor, and I'm at an angle, starting right at the base of the eye. I'm going to just trim up. And I'm going to trim back to about halfway of that middle spot. Then you can come in on the side and even that up. And again, just take your time. Don't get in no hurry. There's a lot of work to just get into a hurry and run the fly, so just take your time. things the way you like it. It's looking pretty good. Right. Now for the skirt, or for the collar, sorry, for the collar, a lot of people will take this fly out of the vise and use some scissors and just trim the edge and then start tapering back with your razor after that. I use a razor just because I've done it so much. It's how I do it. But I'm going to bend my razor again and just kind of form it a little bigger than the roundness of your nose. And just come up and then just trim kind of straight back and down. And do that around and get your collar even. And there are many, many ways you can do this, so just do whatever's comfortable for you. Like I said, if you wanted to take it out of the vise, you can. It's not that big a deal. This is not how it has to be done. And if you have some of them butts sticking out of the skirt, you can actually pinch and they'll break off before the tips do. So you can pinch them and just pop them out of there if you're afraid to cut any further in. Alright, that's looking pretty good. I'm just trying to clean up a little bit here. Things the way I want it. And again, just take your time. Don't hurry. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put some eyes and some rubber legs in it. So what I'm going to do, and this is not necessary, you can glue them straight to the sides, but I like to recess my eyes some. So I'm going to fold my blade again, and on each side I'm just going to dig out a trough or a bowl in the side of the head just to glue my eyes down into. And that'll make them stay on a lot longer and get knocked off near as quickly. So I got alright. Pretty good. I like to use E6000 industrial adhesive. Works pretty good for gluing eyes to deer hair. Take a little drop, put it in that little bowl we dug out. Glue your eye in. Do the other one the same way. Next thing I like to do with these is I'll take some just some clear hard UV and put a layer of that over that eye to the hair, and that'll almost guarantee you that's not ever going to come off of there after that. So that with a light. The other side. Now we're going to add some rubber legs, and these are not necessary, but I like putting them in them. Gives them more movement, looks better. So what I'm going to do is I'm using a big canvas needle. You can use a leg puller, whatever you want to use, but I'm going to run it between the first spot we tied in and the middle spot, and that will be the best place to put those rubber legs. If you try to run this needle through the center of your spots and stacks, you're probably going to hang up on the thread and stuff. So I've got that ran in the middle of those two spots, right above the shank of the hook on top. I'm going to stick my rubber legs in there. Just pull them through. I'm going to take some liquid fusion, and I like using liquid fusion for this because it dries clear. Just put a drop inside there where those legs come out of the body, and that'll glue them in for you. That's what that's going to do. I'm going to take and I'm just going to trim these off even, close. I'm going to roll the fly over in my vise. See something I missed there. And this is not necessary, but I do this on my flies. It helps with killing and durability. And I'm just going to put a pretty generous layer of clear UV on the belly. And it, like I said, it makes it more durable. And it helps kill properly. Two good things. Now that fly right there, when the leg's dry, that's ready to go. You could fish that fly as is. I take it a little further, and I take Loon soft head, and what I do is I put a generous coat over the entire nose and up the front of the collar, all the way around, over the eyes and everything. And that will make it even more durable, and it'll give it a shine. It dries clear, so it gives it a little bit of a shine. Looks good. This is, I'm not flooding the head with it, but I am putting a pretty good layer over it. So and there you have it. That'll be dry in about, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes or so. And then she's ready to fish. I appreciate you watching. Y'all be sure to click the like button and subscribe. And hit the reminder bell too, so y'all know when new videos get posted. And again, y'all be sure to check out the stores at fishingandoutdoors.ca for Canadian shoppers and fishingandoutdoors.net for US and international shoppers. Thanks for watching.